community to feel at home and to gain the tools for our children and families to succeed. So I advocate for these families with United Way. United Way empowers them to look beyond their histories and to see what opportunities are available. We help them get involved with their kids' schools, network within the community, and when we do, we unite them. We make the community stronger. What I do is something I wish someone had done for me, and I am so grateful I am able to. My name is Meera Batra. I help families see opportunities and succeed. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Keyboard Cat, Hamilton the Pug, and Toast Meets World. These are some of the internet's most beloved pets. With millions of YouTube views, shares, Instagram likes, followers, and fans across the globe. But what do all these amazing pets have in common? Their stories started in a shelter. Start your story. Adopt a dog or cat today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a shelter or adoptable pets near you. Training that pet to play the keyboard? Well, that's entirely up to you. Visit theshelterpetproject.org and hear more about Hamilton the Pug, Toast, and Keyboard Cat's amazing adoption stories. Start a story. Adopt a shelter or rescue pet today. Your perfect pet is just a click away at theshelterpetproject.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Maddie's Fund.
The Artist Exchange Radio Show every Friday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., every Saturday, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Real artist, real talk, real live on BeExposedRadio.com. I was meeting with a friend yesterday, and I've gotten to the point where don't ask me a question because the truth is going to come out. And
exactly.
Just don't do it.
If you ain't looking for the truth, don't come to me.
Don't do it because I can't hold my tongue. And she wants to be this stylist, boutique, but you're not doing anything in that nature. And I can't take you seriously if you're not doing those things. And I understood.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
We're rewarding you for something you already do, listening to us. It's radio loyalty, and it's an easy way for you to get free stuff. All you do is sign up. Go ahead and click the banner now. You'll earn points as you listen. Points you can trade in for great products and services in the Radio Loyalty store. You can earn even more points when you share your favorite station with friends on Facebook and Twitter. Radio Loyalty. It's free to sign up, so click the banner to join now.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Hi, I'm LeVar Burton, and I'm proud to be a book person. How do I choose a book? Sometimes it's the cover, sometimes it's the title.
See, I don't know. I haven't seen it up close, but that's the backdrop. That's going to be in back of us. You see it?
Oh, okay.
So what the people are going to be looking at is that mural in back of us.
Okay.
Well, oh, well. It's storytelling time. Let's do some call and response. Help me out, Mama Ruff and Sister Martha. Well, oh, well.
Well, oh, well.
Well, oh, well.
Well, oh, well.
It's storytelling time.
It's storytelling time.
And indeed it is storytelling time. Welcome to How We Got Over. How we got over. How we got over. My soul looks back and wonder how I got over. Today it is such an honor, such a pleasure to have these two wonderful, beautiful, esteemed people on the broadcast today. Together they're worth about thousands and thousands of years of history and celebration of our people. We have today Mama Edna Ruff. How are you doing, Mama Edna Ruff?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Good. And her daughter, Sister Martha Ruff. How are you doing, Sister Martha?
Yay, bo.
Yay, bo. And today we're going to talk about, how we got over. And we have to begin, really, at the beginning with where we were born. And Mama Ruff, where were you born?
I was born in Jarrettsville, Maryland.
Jarrettsville, Maryland. And can you tell us what year that was?
1922.
1922. Woo! So So you are indeed an esteemed elder, and that makes you how many years young?
I'm 96 now. Boy.
She is 96 years young. So you are out there watching and listening. Go. And we're going to hope that we live to be that age. At least live to be another day. Okay? Well, Mama Ruff, you say you grew up in Jarrettsville. What type of school did you attend?
When I was in Harford County, I attended a black school, well, a colored school, one-room colored school. That was really 3 miles from where I lived.
And how did you get to school?
I walked.
You walked the 3 miles?
I walked the 3 miles, walked the 3 miles back. When I was in the first grade, my mother would send me one day and keep me home one day.
Oh,
because of the length of the walk.
Oh my goodness! So you would go like every other day to school. Now, was that good for you? I mean, were you able to keep up with the studies, or?
Oh yeah. The bad thing was that I just wanted to go to school.
You just wanted to go to school. You really liked school.
Yeah.
But she had some special help at home.
Okay. And what was her special help? You said she had some special help.
Yeah. Well, who taught you at home?
Oh, well, my mother was a school teacher.
That's right. Your mother was a school teacher.
Yeah.
And what school did your mother teach in?
She was in the Baltimore City Public Schools.
Baltimore City Public Schools. Yeah. And those schools at the time, were they segregated?
Yeah, they were segregated.
Okay, segregated.
And she taught school until she got married, and at that time, married teachers couldn't teach.
Married women.
Married women couldn't teach. Now, how come married women couldn't teach?
It was a rule, everybody.
It was a rule?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So when she got married, was she fired or she just quit?
No, you just quit. You weren't fired. That was for all the schools.
For all, was this true for white teachers as well?
Yes.
Okay, so any female teacher teaching in a school had to be single.
Yes.
So once she stopped teaching, then what did she do?
Well, she moved out to where my father was. And really, I guess she didn't do anything except house. Well, they lived on a farm. So on a farm, you can find plenty of things.
So you lived on a farm. Okay, and what was your mother's name?
Edna A. Maddox. She was a Maddox before she was married.
Maddox. And what type of school did she attend?
Well, she grew up in Baltimore City, and so she went to the colored schools in Baltimore City.
And she graduated from the colored schools?
Yeah, she graduated from the colored high school, which is now Douglas High School.
Wow.
In 1910.
Okay, so your mother, Edna, graduated from the colored high school in 1910 that later became Douglas High School.
That's right.
That's some very important history to know. And what have you brought in to show us about your mother?
Well, this is my mother's diploma from when she graduated.
Okay, this is your mother's diploma from when she graduated from high school. And can you read it, Sister Martha?
This says the Colored High School, and by the authority of the state of Maryland, the Board of School Commissioners, the diploma has been awarded to Edna Adeline Maddox for the approved curriculum and given in the year of 1910. And you might see this online, but it's something else to see it live because you can really see the size of it when you see the actual document. You can find this online. You can find a diploma like this online, but you really need to see it to see that it's very large.
It is. That is beautiful. Now, after high school, did your mother go to college?
She went to Coppin.
Coppin?
Yeah, and graduated, and then she was able to teach.
Okay, she went to Coppin. Wonderful. So, Mama Ruff, once you finished high school, where did you go after that?
I went to once I finished high school. I want to show you my parents.
Oh yeah, please do.
Give it to me.
This is my mother and
This is your mother and father.
Yes.
And what are their names again?
Well, my father is W. Stanley Gover. And my mother's name is, I'm named after my mother.
After your mother?
Yes,
okay.
Her name is Edna Gover.
These are beautiful, beautiful. And you said your mother was probably born in the 1800s?
Yeah.
And your father too was probably born in 1800s?
Yeah, they were about the same age.
Wow.
I know my father's birthday, I don't really know, but they were the same, about the same age.
Now, do you remember your grandparents?
I knew both of my grandmothers.
Okay, your grandmothers.
Yeah, but both of my grandfathers were deceased before I was born.
Now, did your grandmothers go to school? Did they have any schooling?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Because they were born really right after the Civil War.
Right after the Civil War. After the Civil War. Wow.
My grandmother, my mother's parents were in Harford County, and her mother was a slave. Her father was free, but her mother was a slave.
Wow.
And when he married her, he had to work to free her.
Oh my goodness.
And by the time, and before he got her free, there were 3 children born, and he had to work for each child.
Oh my goodness.
So I don't really
Now,
know.
were the children born into slavery or were they born free?
No, they were born into slavery. Yes, the 3 children were born into slavery. And he worked for 2 of them. The third one was an ill child, was not a very active baby. And he said he'd give her, he would give her to them. She lived to be 90-some years old.
Oh my goodness.
And I knew her.
You knew her. She had been a slave. You knew her.
Now, she had been born
a slave. Did she ever tell you anything about what she remembered about slavery?
No. Because
anyone ever talk about what happened?
She really talked about it. Because she wasn't a slave for that. But she was too little to be protected. And my grandmother, who I, did interact, was a younger child than she was.
Oh my goodness. Now, once you finished high school, you also went to college, right?
I went to nurses training.
Nurses training.
Yeah, I went into Providence Hospital in Baltimore, which was the only colored hospital and the only place that black girls could go.
In Baltimore. So the hospitals here were segregated?
Yeah.
Including Johns Hopkins?
Yes, they were all segregated.
Oh my goodness.
They had segregated wards on the hospital, but there were no nurses and there were no doctors in any of the white hospitals.
Now, it was probably rare to see black nurses, was it?
What you mean or
just for a person to become a black nurse, was that rare? Or did many black women go into nursing?
Well, I guess not, because there wasn't that many places to go. There were other hospitals, so people did go. The nurse people did go into.
So once you became a nurse, did you become a registered nurse?
Yes,
registered nurse.
Wow. Finished the 3-year course, and I finished the 3 years and took the state board, the nursing board, and passed it. And there really wasn't that many places for you to work in Baltimore City. You worked, at that point, you worked either in Providence Hospital or the public health had black nurses. And the others were doing private duty. So the powers to be, I'll say, became restless, and they decided that City Hospital, which was owned by the government of the city of Baltimore, should have some colored nurses.
That's right.
So I was one of the first. There were some other nurses who put there first.
Oh, congratulations. So you were one of the first black nurses to work at City Hospital.
That's right.
Oh.
And The other interesting thing is the city hospital had a great big nursing home for the nurse, because at that time most nurses lived in a nursing home. The hospitals all had nursing homes,
and the nurses lived there.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And so City Hospital had a great big nursing home, but we lived in a small little one-story building.
And that was separated, it was segregated?
It was segregated.
So the black nurses lived in a little building, whereas the other building for the white nurses was, I see what you're saying. So, so that's one instance to me of discrimination. Did you encounter any other?
The other thing was that we really, though we worked for the city of Baltimore, we worked under tuberculosis. None of the black nurses or the colored nurses worked in the general hospital. We worked on tuberculosis wards.
Tuberculosis.
Tuberculosis. You worked at the tuberculosis ward.
Yeah.
Now, why was that, I wonder?
Because that was the ward no nurses would really want.
That's what you wouldn't want. That's right.
No.
Wow.
And,
now, do you know if the black nurses made as much money as the white nurses?
I really don't know that, because I didn't like it for the first place. I didn't stay there.
Oh, you didn't stay there. Okay.
Because we were separated.
Right, segregated.
And I was used to people giving us more respect as nurses.
I see, more respect.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
I stayed, I was there about 6 months, I guess.
Oh, 6 months, wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I stayed, you could get a week's vacation at the end of 6 months. And I stayed through the week's vacation.
You got your week's vacation after 6 months and you stayed, you never came back.
I did go back.
Oh, okay.
And they informed me I had to work another week since I had been
on vacation. You had to make up. Okay.
Yeah, then I left.
Our family has a tradition of naming children after elders in the family. So I'm named after my Aunt Martha, my mother's sister, and my Aunt Martha also got educated in Baltimore City. So she had a similar experience to my mother, was going up to what we call middle school in Harford County, and then coming to Baltimore to go to high school.
I see.
And while my mother went to Douglas, my aunt went to Dunbar. I think Dunbar hadn't been built when you started, right?
Well, no.
It was just a different part of town.
Yeah.
So my aunt went to
Was
to
it
the
called
east.
Dunbar at the time?
It was Dunbar.
It was always called Dunbar.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she graduated from Dunbar and went to Morgan.
Oh, okay.
It would have been Morgan College then.
Now, what did she
and
become?
she became a librarian.
And you became a librarian.
And I became a librarian.
So, Mama Ruff, you always encourage your children to get as much education as possible, right? To go as far as they could go.
Yes, all my children, well, my oldest son went in the service, but all the other four went to college.
That's wonderful. That's beautiful. Well, Sister,
and one thing about my aunt's education too, she also went to graduate school.
Okay.
But she should have been able to go to the University of Maryland Graduate Library School. But the state of Maryland at that time did not allow blacks to go to the University of Maryland, and in fact they would pay for them to go out of state to some other college. So my aunt actually went to Columbia University in New York.
Oh, Columbia, Ivy League. Wow.
Paid by the state of Maryland.
Just to keep University of Maryland all white. Right. It took Thurgood Marshall to change that, to
challenge the law school.
Law school, yes. So, Sister Martha, let me ask you, what elementary schools did you attend, and middle schools and high schools?
Okay, so my parents got married and moved to home in the area. It's kind of southwest west of Baltimore. And so we attended the schools in that area. I was just talking to my mother about elementary school. When I went to 6th grade, we got bused to another school. My mother says it was because it was overcrowded. I don't know, but it was a school that was largely white. And so we would walk to our old school and then take a bus, and then there would be a bus that would take us to the new school. And I know many of the boys told me they had some fisticuffs incidents with the white students there. But we also were a result of redlining in Baltimore. So we were
Can you explain that in case people don't know exactly what that is?
Yeah, that was when the realtors were actually pushing people to move in certain areas, for black families to move in certain areas and white families to live in certain areas. And then that way the schools ended up still being segregated because of where people lived. And we actually were one of the first black families to live on the block where we lived. And our mother had an incident where someone was coming, trying to recruit the white families, trying to say to them, you know, don't you want to move? You can see that there are black families coming here. And so by the time we were in school, our block, we lived on a dead-end street. And by the time we were ready to go to school, the whole block was black by then. So most of the schools I went to were black.
So, in other words, in Baltimore, the schools you went to were still mostly black.
Yep. And including high school, I went to Forest Park High School. That school is featured in a movie called The Diner. The Diner. And it was a largely Jewish...
Wasn't it Barry
Levinson?
Yes, okay.
And it was a largely Jewish school. And I went there in the end of the 60s, and there were no white students there at all. Yeah.
Now, where did they go? That's interesting.
They went to the suburbs.
I see. They moved. They moved.
Yeah.
So, what college did you attend?
And then I attended Middlebury College in Vermont.
Oh, in Vermont.
Wow. And
why did you choose way away from your mind? Why did you go way from Ruff?
It was a chance to get away, but also it was something that a teacher had said to me. Well, this is a good school for languages, and so I was going to study French, and that's where I went, and had some interesting experiences on that campus. They have an actual French chateau, and that was the French house, and I lived in there one year as a French student, and then also just getting to know other parts of the country. And so Vermont is beautiful all year round. From this time of the year, the foliage is so gorgeous. But I lived in a small college town, and so the only blacks in that area were the blacks at the school.
So how were you treated?
We were treated as something interesting, strange. The black students had a black student union, and we did community service. And one of the things we did was go to visit elders in the community. So I was visiting and reading to this older white woman, and I went to see her several times. She never mentioned skin color or whatever. But then after I had been going a few times, when I was getting ready to leave, she asked, "Can I ask you something? Could I touch your hair?" And I used to have one of those nice afros. And I said, sure, because, she had failing sight. But I knew also that she would never meet another black person. Very, very unlikely. And so, I let her touch my hair.
Now, is Goddard College up there?
Goddard College is in Vermont.
So then, So you went there to become a librarian?
I went there to study French. So I got an undergraduate degree in French. And then I came back to Baltimore for a few years and started working at the Edna Pratt Library. And then I went to get a graduate degree in library science. I went to the University of Chicago to get my graduate degree.
You skipped completely over the fact that you went in the Peace Corps for 2 years.
Yeah, well, I did go to the Peace Corps.
Peace Corps when?
In 1974.
Okay, and where did you go?
I went to the Ivory Coast in West Africa and lived there for 2 years. One of my favorite experiences. So yeah, I didn't want to skip over that. And so yeah, it did. I was teaching English because the Ivory Coast is a French-speaking country. And so while I could practice my French and also get to know the people in the African diaspora. So that was one of my favorite experiences.
Now, how was the schooling over there? If you compare the schooling, education over there as education over here, what was the difference?
Okay, well, the Ivory Coast had made a decision to help their country improve by keeping the French people there. So one of my most saddest experiences was that when I went to the first school that I taught at, I was the only black woman teacher in that school. All the other teachers were white, French, in Africa. All the other teachers were white, French, and the only other black teachers were the music teacher was an African man and the gym teacher. And this was because the French got paid very well to come and teach there. They got free vacation travel to go back to France in the summers, and they got housing was part of their benefits. So they had nice houses, they go to the pool. But the children were very eager to learn.
Yes.
And so you didn't have to worry about them goofing off or whatever. They were very interested in learning, and they were very interested in African Americans.
Oh, wow.
They had an African history club. The children would run the clubs. They didn't have teacher advisors like we did. The children themselves would run the clubs. And when I went to one of their club meetings, they were like, oh, what's she doing here? Why is she? The other teachers don't come, but they were glad for me to come and talk with them. I also worked with their choir, and the music teacher did, this was my the other teacher. I did say the music teacher was an African man, and he taught the children. He was very open to teaching them all kinds of things, and so he taught them African American spiritual. I taught them. I taught them "Oh Freedom."
Oh Freedom! Oh, I know they loved that. That was wonderful, wonderful. Yeah. So then, once you came out of the Peace Corps,
I worked at the Edna Pratt Library, and then I went to graduate school for 2 years in Chicago.
And that's how you became a librarian. You studied library science?
Yeah, I got a graduate degree in library science.
Now, did you do this because you're named after your aunt, and she was a librarian as well? Or?
Well, actually, I had made up in my mind that I was not going to be a librarian. The reason I became a librarian was because of storytelling.
All right, now we're getting into storytelling. There you go. So you love storytelling.
Yes, there was. When I came back from the Peace Corps was one of those economic times when jobs were very hard to find, and the library had this federally funded job, and it was reading to children, and I said, oh, okay, reading to children, I like that. And when I went to the interview, I almost didn't get the job.
Oh, wow. Well, hold that thought, and we will be right back. Thank you so much.
So, Jacqueline.
Yes, Mom?
I wanted to talk to you about something, and... Oh, wait. Hold on. I just got a text. Oh, there's another one. Wow. Busy me. So, anyway...
Oh, wait, Mom. I just got a message. My friends keep commenting on my comment. Oh, there's another one. So many comments on my comment.
Oh, I can't wait to watch TV tonight. Playoffs!
Hey, guys, check out my new video game. Pew, pew. Wait, Mom, what? Huh?
What? Hold
What'd
on.
you say? Wait a second, what?
This weekend, unplug. Take your family to the forest. There's nothing in the world like experiencing nature firsthand. Trees, paths, bluebirds, streams. Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. To find the forest nearest you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm LeVar Burton, and I'm proud to be a book person. How do I choose a book? Sometimes it's the cover, sometimes it's the title. I guess I'm pretty visual. If a book's really impressing me and the writing is really good, I will peek and see what the last paragraph is. Because the endings of books should rock you. I am a book person, and if you're a book person too, read to a child and spark a lifetime of ambition. Join me at bookpeopleunite.org because reading is fundamental. A public service announcement brought to you by Reading is Fundamental, Library of Congress, and the Ad Council.
Join the Just a Bit Outside crew every Monday, 8 to 10 p.m. on BeExposedRadio.com.
You want to start off?
I think I'll get it out of the way on a who's not.
Okay, do it.
The Orioles.
Right.
They got swept by the Royals. They lost 4 in a row, and the last 5 games have all been decided by 1 run.
Mm-hmm.
The game before, or the last game that they lost before the Royals was the Nationals, and it was Weeders, of course, won with a home run.
Hit the home run.
Right.
They were going into that National series. It seemed like they were doing so well, and they just crapped out. They got that game postponed, so who knows when they're going to replay that or play that game.
Mm-hmm.
That's my first not for the night.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and weigh in on my who's not, and I'm going to talk about the San Diego Padres.
The Padres. That's okay. You just took my answer.
They're in last place in the NL West. They've lost 8 of their last 10. Their run differential is a negative 65, which is just horrible. So when you have well, let me just talk about run differential a little bit. It's kind of like the how
much you're winning or losing your games by, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. It's like the margin of victory, kind of.
Right.
So when you're in a negative number, that means that you're
then your average game you're losing
by a whole lot.
Right.
I mean, a number like negative 65, this early in the season is pretty rough.
That's horrible.
And the pitching numbers.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange.
Artist Exchange Live.
The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange.
Starts now.
Yeah, we're gonna leave that with her, so we can.
Okay, welcome back. And Sister Martha, did you hold that thought?
I can't forget that because this might have changed my whole life's course. But I came for the interview at the Pratt Library, and I just got in the door as they were settling people down, and they said, sit right down and take this test. And the test was all about putting numbers in order and that kind of thing. And so then when it was over, they corrected it right away, and everybody that failed it, they said, okay, well, you have to, try again another time. And so then they started telling people about what their job was going to be. And, they would take one person over and tell them, and then they'd bring another over and tell them the same thing. And so when they got to me, they said, well, you heard what we said to the other people. And I said, yeah, you were telling about putting books on the shelf and organizing books. But where's the part about reading to children?
Yeah.
And they said, well, what job are you applying for? And when I told them, they said, Well, you didn't have to take that test.
Oh, so you had taken that test and didn't even have to.
That test was for people that were what we call pages, that put books on the shelves and put them in order. So if I had failed that test, I would have never known that I didn't have to, didn't have to take it. I passed the test. And then I worked at Pratt for about 5 years as a children's librarian. We did storytelling. We had a group of people called the Traveling Troubadours that would go down, and our own Lynn Distance, who's a part of the Brios Circle and Nebs, she was a part of that. And then I wasn't getting paid as much as the people who had a library degree. So then I went to the graduate school so I could get paid.
Yes, I don't blame you. Wow. So now Sister Martha mentioned the Brios Circle of Maryland, and all three of us are members of the Brios Circle of Maryland. And
all three of us are life members of the Brios Circle of Maryland.
Yes, of the Brios Circle of Maryland. And the Brios Circle of Maryland is an affiliate of the National Association of Black Storytellers. So join us in November at our 36th annual festival. And Mother Mary Carter Smith is the co-founder, and I am the other co-founder. Now, Mama Ruff has shown me this book. And what is this book, Mama Ruff?
This is the survey, which is and you finished the 12th grade. This is the summary of all the things that you had done during it.
So it's like a yearbook. It's like a yearbook, but it was called Survey Deluxe. Douglas High School, June graduate, 1941. Okay, I'm going to turn to your page. I marked it. And you had married then, and this says Edna Gover, success role. What does success role mean?
That I was
kind of like the honor roll.
Honor roll, you've done well. It says self-control. That means you were you were a very self-controlled person, right?
Well, I had to be self-controlled because I had to go to school without my parents.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so I worked my way through.
Oh, I see. I see. And it says here you wanted to be a nurse. So you always wanted to be a nurse.
Yes,
and I'm going to try to show them. Here's her picture right here, where my finger is. Yes. This is a very interesting book in that it's called Survey Deluxe. So this is how the yearbooks used to look. Oh, that's interesting. Do you remember how many people graduated in your class?
There were 300 and something.
300?
Yeah, because, see, there were only 2 black high schools in the city of Baltimore.
Oh, okay.
But everybody could go free as long as you wanted to go. So there were several people in here who went on to be distinguished.
Because you mentioned a judge?
Judge Hargrove.
Judge Hargrove. Okay.
And there were several other people in there.
I'm looking at the different clubs. It says the Negro History Club. Wow. That was wonderful.
And that Negro History Club, if you read the summary under it, they said one of the things they did during the year was to go to Washington, D.C., and they met Carter G. Woodson.
Oh, my heavens. Oh, I'm looking at it. The following year, the group visited Washington to interview Professor Kelly Miller and Dr. Carter G. Woodson and to inspect the famous Moreland collection at Howard University. Now I'm grinning because Howard University is where I went, and I remember spending many times in the Moreland room. Oh, this is beautiful. They said other outstanding interviews were with President Holmes of Morgan State College and Dr. Miles Connor of Coppin Teachers College. Wow, with an inspection of the Poe Housing Project. This is wonderful. This is such history. This is so valuable. A lot of this you won't find in the history books. This is oral history. And this comes under storytelling. And Mama Ruff and Martha Ruff are excellent storytellers. And are you coming to the festival this year to North Carolina?
Yes, we plan to be in North Carolina.
Right. Oh, my goodness. And Mama Ruff has the distinguished honor of being our oldest member of the National Association of Black Storytellers. So I'm so thankful that you are part of NABS. And Sister Martha has distinction of being, she received one of our honors, one of our awards, the Lyndon Jenkins Brown NEA Award for Service, because Sister Martha has worked so hard, not only in the Grill Circle, but also with the National Association of Black Storytellers. She's been on the board. Are you in the circle of elders?
Not yet.
Okay, not yet. But Mama Ruff is.
Yep.
We have the Brotherhood Circle of Elders. Mama Ruff is in that. So you're not in the circle? What can I get you in the circle? Now, I'm saying that to say, in order to be in the circle, you have to be 60 years old. So, Martha may have to be 60 yet. So I ain't crying. I don't want to know you. But Sister Martha, let me ask you this. Oh, but first, let me show this. This is a picture of Mama Ruff in the newspaper, and it says, "The doctor knows." In the emergency room of Providence Hospital, Dr. William Garner dresses injured hand of Maurice Dorsey. Nurse Edna Gover looks on. The hospital got $18,000 from the fund. Now, what fund are they talking about, Mama Ruff?
They're talking about the community fund. This is the fund that collects money from all organizations and whatnot. What is it called?
Yeah, the United Front, and gives out awards to organizations to help people in need.
Okay. Well, this has certainly been a pleasure. And Martha, you have two children, right?
I have two sons.
Now, what schools did they go to?
They both graduated high school from Gilman High School.
Gilman
School.
Yeah,
it really goes from all over.
Now, why did you decide to send them to Gilman as opposed to the?
Well, they also have uncles who went to Gilman School.
Oh, very distinguished.
And we have a relative who was a teacher at Gilman School.
Oh, wonderful.
So it was kind of a family decision.
Now, did they go on after?
And then they both went on to college. My oldest son went to Duke University and graduated with a major in African American Studies. And my youngest son went to Trinity College in Hartford, Connecticut, and he graduated with a degree in economics.
Oh, well, we could use both of them at the National Association of Black Storytellers. We have to talk about getting them on the board, Sister Martha. Wow, well, thank you so much. This has been an honor and a pleasure. You represent living history. And if you have any questions, please send them in to Nate on the Artist Exchange Show. And I am Mama Linda. Thank you so much. Asante Sana. Thank you. Thank you.
Asante Sana.
Keyboard Cat, Hamilton the Pug, and Toast Meets World. These are some of the internet's most beloved pets. With millions of YouTube views, shares, Instagram likes, followers, and fans across the globe. But what do all these amazing pets have in common? Their stories started in a shelter. Start your story. Adopt a dog or cat today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a shelter or adoptable pets near you. Training that pet to play the keyboard? Well, that's entirely up to you. Visit theshelterpetproject.org and hear more about Hamilton the Pug, Toast, and Keyboard Cat's amazing adoption stories. Start a story, adopt a shelter or rescue pet today. Your perfect pet is just a click away at theshelterpetproject.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Maddie's Fund.
Whoa. The moment my son saw a redwood tree.
It's huge!
Is the moment I knew that for him,
You can't even see the top of that thing!
even the sky has no limit.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go. Your moment is out there. Find it at discovertheforest.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Only in the forest can you see this. But nothing beats the moment you see that.
Cool!
That's your child's eyes opening up to a world of possibilities.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go. And you might just see this. Visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Be Exposed Radio.
And more money, let them know like you're gonna get a hit if you do some rap stuff. You know what I mean?
Right. Now, appropriation, like, they be getting that money. I was just about to talk about that too. Appropriation. Is it appropriation when they do? Because you know Miley Cyrus. Like, think about it. You got like Miley Cyrus. You had Justin Bieber, and you had like even Katy Perry and Pink. You remember? I don't know if y'all remember Pink. She used to do like some hip hop stuff or some like R&B stuff too. Do you think that's appropriation? Are they taking from the culture without like?
I don't know. Like,
without giving.
The way I look at it is, if it seems forced, then 9 times out of 10 it's not really them. Yeah. So then it's appropriation. You feel me? But if I hear sincerity and the genuineness in what you're doing, and if they decide to label it hip hop, and your skin ain't the typical hip hop skin, you feel me? I can accept it as hip hop, like, cause hip hop is what we do. Like, you feel me? Like, people don't look at it like that, but it is. Like, and Busy B himself told me that. You feel me? Like, rap is a thing that we do. You feel me? And hip hop is something that we live.
Right.
So if you telling me your truth, but your skin and my skin on opposite sides of the barrier, who am I to say that that's not hip hop?
That's true. That's true. Now, and we got a newer person. I don't know if y'all know about this, but we got a new person that's kind of like on that culture too. Well, she's not really new. Fergie. Y'all remember Fergie
from Black Eyed Peas?
Yeah, yo, I heard she got a new album out, and I was unfortunately I was listening to this with a female friend of mine a few weeks ago, and I'm not gonna lie, bro, it's actually pretty good. And I was real surprised, yo. It's like pop.
What's up, guys? It's your boy Shepsworth Bentley, and make sure you guys check out Homegrown.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Artists Exchange. The Artists Exchange. The Artists Exchange. The Artists Exchange.
The Artists Exchange.
Artists Exchange. Live. The Artists Exchange.
I'm gonna be okay. God is with me. God is here.
Yeah. He's giving you strength.
Oh, he's giving you strength. Well. It's storytelling time. Alafia, welcome to How We Got Over. And today, I am so honored to have on the program, I call her Mama Vicky, but she's really Mother Victoria Smith. Welcome to the program, Mama Vicky.
Thank you very much.
Mama Vicky is just so special. She's a member of the Griot Circle, and she has traveled around the world. Now, she might look tiny to you and small to you. Honey, she is stronger. Honey, she has more strength than about 20 men. And now, Mama Vicky, where were you born?
I was born in Baltimore, Maryland, on Madison Avenue, and delivered by a midwife.
Oh, so you were not born in a hospital?
Not actually in the hospital, but they would have places for people, especially black people, because this is 1931. I am 87 and a half years old.
Wow. So you were delivered by a midwife?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you say Madison, what section of Baltimore is Madison in?
It's very close to Druid Hill Park.
Druid Hill Park. Okay. And how long did you stay there in Druid Hill Park?
Well, I was born there, but my mother is from the Catonsville area, so she had moved back and took me out to Catonsville with the rest of her family. I was a baby, and incidentally, I was told later in life, many years just before my mother died, that the midwife asked her if she wanted to put a pillow over my head and just suffocate me at that time. The reason for that was that my mother was very light, my father was very dark. My mother had 10 pregnancies and 6 living children. I was the darkest one of all. So it was thought then
that if you were very, very dark, very black, you would have a very difficult time in life. And before she died, I was able to take care of her. And she would tell me to sit down, I want to tell you something. And I would say, Mama, I gotta wash the dishes, so I'm gonna take care of you. Finally, I sat down beside her bed before she died, and she told me what I just told you about putting the pillow over my head, and she said she never wanted to do anything with her baby. So I am sitting here today because of my mother's choice.
Your mother's choice. So how many brothers and sisters did you have living? You said 6 of you?
There were 6 of us that were living, and now there's 3 of us left. I have a sister in a nursing home and a brother and myself. I'm the oldest of the 3 living children.
3 living. Now your mother, what type of schooling did your mother and father have? Do you remember?
Well, at the time, from what I understand, and I think that we wait too late sometimes to ask some of the questions, and the people who are dead, they can no longer answer your questions. However, my mother had grown up in Catonsville. I do know that there was no high school for black children in Catonsville. So we went to a very small school there. If some of you remember one-room schoolhouses.
Oh yeah, one-room schoolhouses.
And so we went to school there. But then she moved immediately back to Baltimore, back in Baltimore, because she wanted her children to have an education, and many black parents were very serious about their children's education. So she wanted us to have an education, and that's why she moved back, because I could go to high school in Baltimore.
I see. Now what school did you go to in Baltimore? What was the name of the school?
I went to school number 101st. It was on Mount Street.
Mount Street, school number 101st.
Yeah, 100. I went there first. It's now, I think, an apartment building. But I was in, apparently I was in the 3rd grade, because I can still remember being in the 1st and 2nd grade in Catonsville. And then when we moved into Baltimore, I was in apparently the 3rd grade. And then I was transferred. I've never understood why, but I was transferred to school 119 on Gilmore and Mosier Street. The area that's most prominent recently.
Now what is that area called? What's the community known as?
Well, I guess it's the same area that the Freddie Gray.
Oh, is it Sandtown, Winchester?
So it's Sandtown, Winchester.
Sandtown, Winchester.
Thank you for your mind.
That's where you ended up moving to. That's the school you ended up going to.
That's the school I went to.
Okay, that was a school 119. School 119. Now, how long did you go to school there?
Well, I went there. They had graduation at the 6th grade, so I went there about the 4th grade, and I remember them asking my mother if I could skip that grade and go on to the next grade. People used to skip back then, and she said, no, she'll be with other children that won't be her age, so let her stay where she is. So I went on through there, graduated in the 6th grade, and then they had actually annex, they called it. So I went to annex schools for what they now call middle school.
Middle school, I see. Now, this school you went to, was it segregated, or was it all black school?
All black schools, all my life until I graduated from Douglas High School. I never sat beside a white student until many years later when I went back to school for advanced degrees.
So, okay, so all the way through you went to segregated schools?
Exactly.
Segregated schools. Now, how did you get to school? Did you walk, or did someone take you? Did you take the school bus, or?
I walked every day, and when I went to Douglas High School, you could get about 5 cents we could pay on the trolley car, but we walked.
You walked.
We called it the 14-mile hike.
The 14-mile hike, because it took 14 miles to go to school?
Because I lived on the street that my mother lived on, was a little street which most people don't know now. It was Loretta Avenue.
Loretta Avenue.
And it was just off of, Monroe was on one side, and on the other side was Payson Street. And we were like the last block of blacks lived in a certain area. I could walk people through that area. We were like the last black people over for that area.
I see.
And beyond that was white people.
Wow, and so you had to walk, and you had to walk 14 miles.
We called it 14-mile hike. I don't know if it was actually 14
miles, or maybe round trip it was 14 miles.
Right, because we would go from there to Douglas High School. That was high school, Douglas High School I'm thinking about.
Now, when you went to Douglas, did you get along with the children there, get along with the students there?
Got along fine, beautifully. There, at the time, there was only the 3 schools. There was Carver, Douglas, and the school on the east side.
Okay. Dunbar?
Dunbar,
okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Dunbar. So those were the 3 schools, and I went to Douglas. Dunbar had put out a lot of physical people, and Carver was what they called the vocational school, and Douglas was the sort of a pre-college or academic school.
I see.
And that's the way they divided
it up then. Okay. Now, you had told me that one time when you were walking home, you encountered an incident where someone was teasing you or bullying you or something. Now, what happened?
I thank you so much for that, because when I moved, they moved me to transferred me to 119. Then I had to walk to school from Loretta Avenue over near Pace Street, where that was. On the way back, I was about 10 or 11 years old. We used to stay after school and wash the blackboards. We loved washing blackboards. And so, my sister rather, and my other friends had gone. I was walking alone. As I was walking the street, coming home, there were people sitting on the steps. They were all Caucasian people, white people were sitting on the steps. There were about 5 or 6 people with children sitting out. They had a dog, and as I was walking by, they told her the dog sick her. So the dog came after me, and if I had been older, I probably, older maybe I might have fallen, but being young then, around 10 or 11 or whatever I was at that time, I was able to, I jumped around and I was crying and I was just so scared, and the dog was coming after me, and I managed to get away, because if I had fallen, the dog would have bit me. But I managed to get away. When I got home, I was crying and, you know, and everything. And my mother, when she heard about it, said, only consider the source. And I kind of remember that. She had been telling me all along. When I was growing up, nigger was not a bad word. Nobody worried about it being called nigger. It was being called black.
Black, that's right. You're right. You're right.
So black was...
Everything has switched around. Back in the day, to call someone black was bad.
Was bad.
People would get mad at you. People would be ready to fight you when you called them black.
Exactly. That was exactly the situation then. So my mother had been telling me all along, be proud of your little black South. I was very small. I was very sick as a child. Apparently, when I was doing the birth, when I was 1, 2, maybe 2 years old, I was sick a lot. All I remember is having all the childhood diseases, being small, being skinny, being scrawny looking. And so apparently, because of that, I never got spanked in my life, because I think they thought if we blow on this child,
you were like a little tiny, well, you are a little tiny princess. You are a little princess.
So all the way through school, I didn't have any trouble. Nobody ever bullied me. I was the first one in the line all the time, only because I was short. So everybody apparently felt sorry for me. They were good to me.
Well, that worked to your advantage.
I thank
for the most part. Yes, for the most part. Well, I know you danced. Now, how did you get involved in dancing?
Well, I got involved, and that's very interesting. I got involved in dancing because before television, we had radios, and we had a Philco radio, the kind that stands up on the stands. And there was, at the Hippodrome Theater, they used to have a Saturday morning program, and it was really for talented white people, not for black people. So I'd sit in front of the radio, and I would listen, and they would have dancing and everything. Now, you had to use your imagination then. You had to figure out what they were saying. So they would describe that here comes little Mary Sue Jones, or whatever her name was, in her pink tutu, her pink shoes, and her dancing slippers, and they would describe it. So sitting in front of that television, you would see that radio, excuse me, you would see exactly what they were telling you. So I would listen to that and I thought, I would like to do that. So later on, they have, from a family of blacks that were fairly well off, they had a lady come to the church where I was going at the time, and she taught us ballet, and I was about 11 or 12 years old, or maybe older. She taught us ballet. And then from then on, I was very, very interested in classical ballet. So I had several teachers over time.
Oh my goodness, that's beautiful. So you actually studied classical ballet?
I studied classical ballet. And then what happened is when I married later and was living in Detroit, Michigan, my husband, since I'd been dancing and loved dancing, he bought mirrors from Cressidy's. It was the fireman gun.
Yeah, I remember Cressidy's.
And he put them up in the basement and put a bar up there, and I opened a dancing school. Now the reason I did this is because many times black children didn't have a lot of money to take ballet. So I would teach them, but it ended up that my basement, it outgrew my basement, and there were just as many white kids who came as black kids, but I didn't turn anybody down. So I couldn't do it much more than the 4 years, because I would have had to move from the basement and rent a place and go into it full time. And by then, I was interested in doing some other things.
Wow, so you had a ballet school. That's wonderful. Now tell us about this beautiful doll that's right here, because that doll represents you, right?
Yes, the doll was given to me years later when I joined the Griot Circle of Maryland, and then I was made the plaque that you can't see because it's kind of translucent, but I was made an elder.
Right, you're an elder in the Brother Blue Circle of Elders, which is very distinguished. You are an esteemed elder, and this is given to you by the National Association of Black Storytellers, and the Griot Circle commissioned Cookie Davis to make that doll for you. And the way the doll is posed, believe me folks, Mama Vicky can do that pose. She can do that same pose. And just last week I saw her do a split. Now she's 86 years young.
87.
87?
87 and a half.
87 and a half. And she can still dance and still do a split. So you've been studying dance most of your life. Yes. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
And incidentally, there was a teacher in Detroit called Severo, and Severo had studied at the American Ballet Theater or the Joseph's, one of those that was in New York. And so she came to Detroit to teach. And I had several teachers over the years, but when I got to Detroit, they said that's one of the best teachers in the world. And I went to her class. The woman was so good, she would have an orthopedic doctor come in, sit down in the front of the studio, watch the ballet, the classical ballet class, and tell her which exercises we were doing that might injure our bodies, because ballet could really.
That's right, ballet is very.
And the reason I tell this story, that truth now, is because that's why I think I can still manage.
You can still do it. That's wonderful, wonderful. So, Mama Vicky, you have had such a variety of experiences. Now, after you graduated from high school, where did you go? What did you attend?
Well, when I graduated from high school at the I wanted to become a nurse, and the guidance counselor we had was a very good one. In fact, what I wanted to do, I really wanted to become a nurse then. I wanted to go to New York and dance. And my mother thought better of that, so and the guidance counselor was so very kind and very good. She sat there with all the grades in front of us, people, and then when my grades were in front of her, she said, "Have you ever thought, Victoria, of being a nurse?" Well, Victoria never thought of being a nurse. But apparently she was seeing that I had better grades in biology and things like that. So then there was no school in Maryland. The only school in Maryland at the time was Providence Hospital. And I knew the nurse who talked to you previously that was there.
Right, Mama Ruff went there.
Mama Ruff, it was there, and I know her. So the minister talked to my mother and said, send her to the school that I went to. There's a nursing school there. That was St. Augustine's College in Raleigh, North Carolina. So that's where I had to go to school. Now he thought there would be more equipment because the only school present was the Providence one. So that's how I ended up in Raleigh, North Carolina. Then how I ended up actually going further that once a student finished the 3 years in summers, which was 4 years, anybody would send to the school, the other states would send to the school to ask for nurses. So if you, whatever state you were from, you had a nurse when you were a nurse. You had a job when you graduated.
I see. Wow. So
the place for me was Glen Burnie, Maryland, which was Barrett School for Girls, and I did not know anything about being a school nurse, but I was a school nurse after graduation.
Oh my goodness! So you became a school nurse. Now, did you ever work in a hospital?
Yes, I stayed for 1 year. Then I wanted to go to California, but I didn't really have the money. So I wrote in the American Journal of Nursing in the back where they had the jobs employment, and I wrote 3 places. I wrote to Cleveland for a hospital, I wrote to Indiana, and I wrote to Toledo, Ohio, because they were building a hospital. Toledo answered first, and I took off alone and went to Toledo, Ohio, with just my suitcase. I didn't know anybody, I just had about trunks we had then. And I went to there. When I got there, I found out I was the first black nurse at that hospital. And the hospital was new because in the middle, in Toledo, on the west side of town were hospitals, but on the east side there was no hospital. There was a river in between, the Maumee River. You had to cross. You can imagine people who were sick on the east side had to cross over. If it was open for boats, they were just in trouble.
Oh my heavens.
So they were desperate for a new hospital.
Isn't that something?
When this new hospital was built, that's the one I went to, and the sister superior sat me down in her office and said, it's up to you as to whether we have any more black nurses. But I didn't even know then I was. So that's where I stayed until I
How long did you stay there?
Well, I stayed there, and I stayed about 3 or 4 years, but I decided that since I had nothing else to do, I'd go back to school.
I see.
And before nursing since it was all the sciences, you had to go back to school to get a Bachelor of Arts, which they called then the Englishes.
The Englishes.
So you had to learn those things. So I decided, I'd go to school. So I went to Toledo University, and when I went there to school, that's when I met my husband.
Oh, but your husband at school.
Yeah, so I met him at school, and then we got married. I stayed at the hospital as a black nurse for a while until our first child came along. Well, I was pregnant. The day before the baby was delivered is when I quit the hospital.
When you quit. Wow. Now, how many children do you have?
I have 2 children.
Do you have grandchildren?
I have 2 children and 2 grandchildren.
Do you have any great-grandchildren?
I have 1 great-grandchild. He's a great-grandchild. Okay. But this comes from my husband's marriage. He was married before for about a year.
Oh, I see.
And that came, so that's a half.
I understand. Okay. Okay.
But my 2 blood children are just the 2 boys.
Okay. So you went back to school, and then you became, what did you become after that?
Well, in order to get your job right after school, you had to take state board. So once you take state board, after graduation, you're a graduate nurse. And then you take state board and you become a registered nurse. So I had taken state board and became a registered nurse. So when I went to St. Charles, I was a registered nurse.
Registered nurse, wow.
Yes, I had passed state board, thank heavens.
Beautiful, that's beautiful. And when I met you, Mama Vicky, I think a few years ago, you was telling me something about you joined the Peace Corps. Now, what was interesting about that is when you joined the Peace Corps, how old were you again when you joined the Peace Corps?
I was 58 years old when I went to the Peace Corps.
Went to the Peace Corps. Now, why did you join?
Well,
why did you join at 58, I should say?
Well, actually, I did tell people, sometimes I've lived a life of 3 people.
Wow.
So by the time I had worked at St. Charles, and then when we got married, we moved to California. So I worked in California a while. Then we had the 2nd child, And all of that life that came in between, but after all of that life, my husband and I decided to move back where since we were both from the east area. Then we chose a place which was Detroit because he had relatives. He died in 1980. He died at 52 years old. He was quite young. We had been married for 23 years when he died. So then I still wanted to, there was a doctor who had a ship called Ship of Hope. And it would go around the world treating people. Well, later on that doctor died. The ship went over for a little while, but I had thought that would be a wonderful job. I could travel. I wanted to travel. So I wanted something that would pay me, or I could volunteer for and travel. So I talked with a young woman. She was a friend of my son's in New York, and I talked with her. She gave me a list of volunteer organizations. She looked them up for me. And then, by that time, I decided Peace Corps sounded pretty good. So that's when I decided I would try that one.
Oh my goodness, wow. So when you joined the Peace Corps, where did you go?
Well, I was supposed to go to Malawi, a country in East Africa. I wanted to go to Africa, but they were having problems. So some of us, I guess at that time, there were others besides me, we were diverted. And so I ended up going to Costa Rica in Central America, which is a beautiful place. So, and no longer Peace Corps assignment now.
Oh, okay.
I went there because they were considered third world countries. They're now considered as with everybody else.
Yes.
I went there and I stayed there for 2.5 years. Then I still wanted to go to Africa. So they sat down, they wrote letters for me, the trainers, and I was accepted to go actually to the place I was scheduled to go to at first, and that was Malawi in East Africa.
So you went to Malawi in East Africa?
Yes, a little strip of a country.
Wow. Now while you were there, did you apply your nursing skills?
Yes, well actually, I went along, by that time AIDS had become prevalent.
Oh,
so the U.S. wanted to do something to Peace Corps, so they were sending 6 people as AIDS representatives to go to Africa to work with countries. I went with those 6 people, and I was really like the tag along because it was easier to send me with them than was less money than to send me alone.
I see.
So I went with them. Then I asked to be taught what those people were taught about AIDS because I was going to be teaching in school. Now they gave me a fancy title. I don't even remember to this day.
Oh my goodness.
And then I was sent to the southern part of Malawi in a city called Zamba. In fact, recently on the 60 Minutes they had this story because there's a prison there. I was going to teach at the the hospital and the School of Nursing. And some of those prisoners used to come to the hospital, so we had to treat some of them.
Now, they had AIDS?
Yes, no, you know, I don't remember the diagnosis of some of the prisoners.
You had to treat them.
They probably were. But if they even got pneumonia or whatever happened, they would send them to the hospital. And that was the hospital where I worked and taught.
Now, how long were you there?
Well, I was there, well, let's put it this way. I went in 1983. Clinton was going to be president.
Okay.
And we left in January for our staging, and we went then. In 1984, the reason why I'm saying this is because it has to do with length. In 1984, a lot of, most of you people have heard of the people dying in Rwanda.
Rwanda, yes.
Well, they were opening up some refugee camps. So to shorten the story a bit, I was ready to come home. I was already a year, but they kept extending it because for new students, they said, oh, you shouldn't leave now. New students are coming in, you need to teach. So they kept extending it for 3 months. So it entered into 2000, because I was supposed to stay only a year. They decided I wanted to go, so I decided to sign up. And they wanted people to go to the refugee camp. They wanted 10 people. We ended up 3 people. And I ended up going to the refugee camp.
And where? You ended up going to the refugee camp where?
And the refugee camp was in northern Tanzania.
Northern Tanzania.
In a place called Barigi, the Barigi refugee camp.
Wow.
And that was after I had already been almost, I guess, almost the second year in Malawi. So I was sent to the refugee camp, and we ended up with 3 of us going. So I was the nurse, and I was to teach communicable diseases. There was a water safety person to work on the water sanitation, they call him. There was another called agroforestry, but he was just to teach the people about planting vegetables. So the 3 of us sent went to Barigi Camp in northern Tanzania, and that was the first time I found out that Lake Victoria had waves, and it took us all night to travel from one end to the other.
Well, Mama Vicky, I could go on listening to you for forever, but it's time for us to stop right now, and I thank you so much. You have been such a joy, such a pleasure. Mama Vicky, thank you so much for your vision, your talent, your history.
Well, you have helped me because sometimes I don't get a chance to talk about getting to that refugee camp. So thank you, Mama.
I'm glad you had a chance to talk. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you.
And we're back with more Cheryl Underwood Radio.
Thank you, Super Producer. So what break is this, Super Producer?
Number 3.
Oh, this third break. Okay. Let me see. Harry, did you hear that? Okay, it's Eric Holder. He's a colleague of yours because you are our favorite country lawyer.
That's right.
And he was the highest ranking lawyer in the land, the Attorney General, right?
Under the Obama administration. Yes, right.
Well, he's still. I don't know ain't nobody talking about Session.
Well, he's still our favorite for that.
That's right. Anybody talking about Jefferson Beauregard Sessions?
Yeah.
Nobody talking about that.
Henry Gibson.
That's right. Listen to me. You better stop. Jim Kelly, you're going to get us kicked out of the Republican Party. Listen.
They listen. The Republicans are listening to Cheryl Underwood Radio.
I know they are. I know they are trying to figure out what we thinking and what we planning. So, right. Eric Holder last week, Harry Sutherland said, Michelle Obama, the former First Lady, well, she's always First Lady, us Courtney Black, was wrong when she said, when they go low, we go high.
That's
he
right.
said, when they go low, we should kick them while they down.
Kick them while they down. That sounds like a brother right there. You hear me?
Eric Holder's too pretty to be talking about kicking people.
Hey,
kick him and kick him.
Elder Barge might disagree with you.
Hey.
Elder Barge said, I gets it in too. Except to me, you're going to regret that.
Hey, you better stop talking about
them boys throw them bowls out there in the Barge family.
Is it light-skinned?
Light-skinned. Yeah.
The Barge boys can throw them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they grew up tough.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Anyway. Flashback. So, I believe that what Eric Holder was talking about and what I said on Steve Harvey Morning Show is like our frat brother Phi Beta Sigma John Lewis said, you got to get in that good trouble.
That's right. That's right.
The good trouble is protesting. The good trouble is marching. The good trouble is what Maxine Waters and Kamala Harris and Cory Booker and all the leaders of civil rights organizations and movements are saying. We got to take it to the street.
That's right.
We've got to fight back and stop being passive. Hillary Clinton's talking about we need to get out there and fight. Like she did not do in elections.
Yeah. Now all of a sudden it's popular, huh?
Yes, to fight.
Could have used that strategy 2 years ago.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And does the Democratic Party just want us to stay this way? You know, or can we get a strategy together which starts now so we can start marching, protesting, getting everybody ready to vote and getting in that good trouble? What you think, Harry?
I totally agree. You know, we can't be passive no more. I mean, when Donald Trump came out, he started talking about people. He started getting in people's face, and it worked. And now the Democrats said, "Wait a minute, this might could work. So we got to fight back as well."
And he's winning with this.
Kick people though.
Well, I think it was a metaphor. Okay. It was a metaphor.
Yeah, he said, "I don't want anybody." I'm sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead. No,
I don't want any physical damage.
Right.
You know, but
I was thinking like Conor
fight.
McGregor or something like
that. Oh, that would be
and what is his name? What is his name? Khabib.
Yeah, we're gonna hire some Russians to come back.
No, Khabib. What's his name? Khabib. Khabib is on our side.
Yeah. What is it?
What's the last name?
Nairobi.
Okay. Nairobi is a
Nurmagomedov.
What is it?
Nairobi is in the motherland.
Okay.
But see, to me, I think this is the issue. This is a true call to action. This is a true clarion call. We have got to start getting together, and we have to use black media. That's all radio stations. We have to use black newspapers. We have to use black TV. Why is it that the Democrats are not buying ads to be placed in black newspapers, black radio stations, and black TV networks and stations? Why not? If we are your most loyal voting bloc, why are you not letting that money trickle down to us, Harry?
No, I totally agree, and I think that they're again taking us for granted.
That's right.
Hillary Clinton did it, and she lost.
That's right. And as President Trump's approval rating grows, he believes that it's because Kanye West supported him. Now, did he make it to the White House? Did anybody? Did y'all?
I missed it.
You missed it.
Yeah.
Well, nobody.
I was protesting. I'm gonna be honest.
Listen, you was protesting Harry.
Harry was trying to kick people.
Stop it. I heard Jim Brown went with him. We're gonna find out if my good friend Jim Brown. Well, wait a minute. At least Steve didn't go.
Hey, come on,
Listen, that's right. Give it up for Steve Harvey.
Right.
My name Bennett. I ain't in it. My name Paul. That's between y'all. Then when we come back, we're gonna talk about the fact that we're gonna keep this going because the fact that the President Trump he's winning at everything he's doing. The Democrats seem to be clueless on how to beat this dude. So we're gonna continue this discussion.
You can't win.
Say it.
You can't win.
Now you say it, Cheryl. Throw the towel.
Throw in the towel. What's wrong with you, Rob? That is out tomorrow. I do it tomorrow. That is out tomorrow.
Y'all are actors. Look at y'all.
Listen to me, and I know I can't act. We'll be right back. More Cheryl Underwood Radio.
We're back with more Cheryl Underwood Radio.
Thank you, super producer. So, hey, we really want to get people fired up and ready to go. We want you to know that we need your votes out there. However you plan to vote. If you're a Republican side, Jim, you and I are Republicans. If you're voting Republican, get out and vote. If you're voting Democrat, get out and vote. You know. And now we're learning more about what people feel about the girl that's in what's the monster picture?
The monster
Jamie
picture.
Lee.
How old are you, Cheryl? Tell my grandma. You gonna go watch the monster picture?
Charlize?
That's because I grew up a creature feature.
Jamie Lee.
Yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis.
The monster.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Artists exchanged.
The Artists Exchange. The Artists Exchange.
The Artists Exchange.
The Artists Exchange. Artists Exchange Live. The Artists Exchange. The Artists Exchange. The Artists Exchange. Starts now.
It's storytelling time.
Oh, right. Love it. I am so honored and just pleased and blessed to have with me two wonderful, beautiful, esteemed elders, sisters, angels, and we're in the presence of two great women, two beautiful women, beautiful inside and out. And beside me is Grandma Edna Lawrence. How are you doing today, Grandma Edna?
Oh, the spirit is high and the energy is speaking.
Oh, yes it is. And beside her is Mama BB. How are you doing, Mama BB?
I'm blessed. He's still loaning me his breath.
Ooh, I love it. He is still loaning you his breath. May I write that down?
Oh, of course.
I love that. And Grandma Edna has brought with her an exhibit that could be in a museum anywhere. She has come so well prepared. But first, I'd like to ask them both, beginning with you, Grandma Edna, where were you born and when?
I'm from Baltimore County, and I was born, my life has always been a completed task because the Holy Scriptures say that the seventh of the sign of completion, so I was born July the 7th, 1947, so I've never experienced childhood. I've always been a living image of an adult.
Wonderful. And what about you, Mama BB? Where were you born?
I was born Johns Hopkins Hospital, 1937.
1937.
So that makes me 81.
81.
I think.
Okay, at the time when you were born at Johns Hopkins, apparently it was integrated at that time?
Well, being a baby, I really don't know.
You don't remember. Because Mama Edna was in here earlier and she was saying how there was only 2 black hospitals.
Yeah, that was Providence.
Yeah, Providence.
And what was the other one?
That was another one. I can't remember the name.
Well, actually,
there was a black hospital before John Hopkins, and John Hopkins made the gentleman move, and the building is still in existence down on Madison Street across from the Arena Playhouse.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So that used to be a hospital?
Up in the area where John Hopkins was.
Where John Hopkins is. Oh my goodness. Now, what type of schooling did you attend? What schools did you go to?
Woo! So I started out in Baltimore County at a school called Benji's Elementary. It was a two-room schoolhouse. So the principal, Miss Penn, taught the first, second, third grade, and her nephew, Mr. Davis, taught the fourth, fifth, and sixth grade. And my uncle and them would have to go to the schoolhouse 6 o'clock in the morning and bank the stove, get the firewood, get the kindle, and start a fire.
Oh my goodness.
So I actually am a good example of growing up in the true country, barefooted, picking up newspapers off the side of the road to read about Dr. King, and that's it. And then as I grew up, I immigrated. The first Pearl Hall High School, which is now what is called a White Marsh area in Baltimore.
I see.
So I grew up in what was called Bradshaw.
I see.
And when our house burned down, we moved to Harford County. So I lived in a white community off of a long road that came off of Earls Road, and we lived there because we were a little better situated than a lot of people.
I hear you.
Because my great-grandfather, Roxy Preston, owned part of what is now known as the Glen Martin's Air Base. So we lived in Wilson Point, and when I was a little girl, I remember sitting on our porch. My mom would hang clothes on the line, and the airplanes would take off from Glen Martin's, and the clothes would turn like they were in the dryer, and we could take them down.
Well, Mama Bibi, what type of school did you go to?
Well, I went to William Alexander Elementary School on Lawrence Street. That's to the 6th grade. Then I went to Druid Junior High School, which is at Francis and Clifton. And then I went to Douglas High School. And I just went to those schools, you know.
Tell the moment and where you and Kinderman.
Oh yeah,
Right.
Kinderman and I were in the same junior high school. The only time I ever really performed was with Kinderman.
So you
we danced
Kinderman at school?
At school. We danced Slaughter on 10th Avenue.
I had that on video.
Yeah.
Now, in case people don't know who Kinderman is, even though everyone should know who he is, tell us something about Kinderman.
Well, Kinderman, first of all, he was one of the greatest artists in the world. Yeah, John Taylor.
John Taylor.
And then he became Kinderman when he started making TV shows and singing to the children and teaching the children and dancing with the children.
He actually opened up the opportunity for the Africans to be on Maryland Public TV. Because when Kinderman stepped out there, it was John Kinderman.
That's right.
And he just broke all racial barriers with his heart, that smile, and that intensity that you are my friend.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, he was very friendly, very beautiful, and just opened up his heart. He would just come in a room singing.
And he was a businessman beyond all that.
He was a businessman, yes. And he talked to me one day about how much of a businessman he was.
Yes.
And he passed away. He made transition not too long ago. I would say a couple of months ago.
Yeah, about 4 months ago.
About 4 months ago, yes. So we're still celebrating his homecoming because he was part of the Creole Circle of Maryland. He was part of the National Association of Black Storytellers. And we're going to be honoring him at this year's festival. He will be entered into the Circle of Elders, the Brother Blue Circle of Elders Award.
Yes,
he will receive that posthumously. So yes, we want everyone to know just how much we loved and honored Kinderman, John Kinderman Taylor.
And this is not a negative. He was crazy.
No. Oh no, he was crazy in a good way, a good crazy.
He was.
Because artists are a little crazy, but he was in a positive.
And he was one of the finest.
I'm going to use
he was one of the finest. Well, you know, different strokes for different folks.
Right.
But he was his artistry. You couldn't believe the art that he drew. And then he had a thing where he would draw pictures of African people of name and history, and then he had a puzzle. Name this, you know, and that was the way of teaching the children. Yeah.
Oh, he was fabulous. He was fabulous. He was a genius.
And you know, Mama
things to come up with.
he always, whenever I actually probably had the only video of him doing TikTok.
Oh my goodness.
And it's a Tati. And then when our other co-founder and Mother Mary Carter Smith passed, I interviewed him at the Maryland Women Heritage Center Museum, and he told the story of how he met Mother Mary, and when she passed, that she sent for him to come to the house, and she told him that she was dying, and she told him just to take everything that she wanted. I do have that on video.
Oh my goodness.
And this is accessible for our circle.
Yes, I want to see that. Oh my goodness. Now, Mama Bibi, you said you sang with Kinderman, right?
Oh yeah, I sang
with. What did you sing with them? What type of songs did the two of you sing?
I don't know, because I'm an abstract woman in the concrete world. Whatever comes through, comes through.
Oh, I love that. Abstract woman in a concrete world.
That's right.
I love that. Now, you were also had told me that when you were in school, that you encountered some teasing and some bullying.
Well, yes. In elementary school, I stayed on the honor roll until the 6th grade. And then the school bully had bullied me enough until I cussed him from the top of his head to the bottom of his feet. So I couldn't go to Accelerate. That's why I had to go to Drew Junior. I wanted to go to Booker T, which was Accelerate, but they sent me to Drew Junior High School.
What, as a punishment because you...
Yeah, because I...
Now, did you tell them what he had done to you?
Didn't matter.
Now, how long had he been bullying you?
He'd been in my class from the 2nd grade up.
Bullied you all those
and he reached the top. That was it.
Oh my goodness!
But that's
what type? No, but this is important because this is what people are talking about today. We're dealing with bullying and how to deal with it.
Yeah.
What can we do? Now, so what type of bullying was this? Did he hit you or did he just
No, he called me names. He teased me. He talked about my appearance and all of that. Somebody said, well, maybe he liked you. Well, I didn't like him. You know, because it was just mean to me to do that. And then when you're not really talking to your family about what's happening in school, you know, they don't do nothing to back you. So, you know, I just went there. And it was different. Booker T, I was going to go class to class.
Yes.
To junior high school, I still had to stay in the first 4 periods, same class. So it was like being in elementary school still.
So after high school, what did you do after that?
After high school, well, I worked at a veterans hospital, and I enjoyed that because I would sing to the patients and everything, but I would get my work done early. But the thing was, when I got my work done early, then I would sit down and read comic books. And they said, you know, they didn't like that. Then they approached me, and they said, well, you know, if we give you this job, you know, will you such and such a thing? I said, no. Will you do such and such a thing? No. And so they didn't hire me.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
You know, they want you to, you know, whatever, and it was like government, you know. I said, wait a minute. You know, I just want to deal with the patients, make them smile and what have you. It was one brother named Carrie. He had cancer in his jaw, but he always want to give me candy. But I enjoyed singing to them, and they called me songbird, so that was okay with me. But I wasn't going to do what they were asking of me.
Now, what type of songs did you sing? Can you give us an example? A little.
Well, I'll start with the baby thing. Why was I born? Why am I living? What do I have? Is it worth giving? Why do I stop and start to hope for? And you can figure out the rest of it.
That's beautiful, beautiful. And Mama Edna, you have brought such a fabulous display.
Yeah.
Mama Edna is a quilter. And would you explain the quilt you have brought to share with us today?
So, I was raised by my grandparents, So in the, I register myself as an ancient, sacred storyteller. And it means so because I live the tradition from my feet to my crown. So my grandfather was my knight in shining armor. So this quilt is in black, white, and gold, black, white, and blue. And that represents the warrior power in the male.
Warrior power,
so
I like that.
The piece in the middle is the heart that he left me. Because when my grandfather died in the country, you brought the body home. And my grandfather kept tabs on me. So when he left, he died with stomach cancer. And when he left, I came downstairs late at night to talk to him, and he didn't answer me, so I stopped talking for a long while.
Oh my goodness.
Because I stuttered so bad. Storytelling is such a comfort to me because I have a speech impairment, impediment, however you want to call it. So people don't understand, for me to have accomplished the things I've accomplished through the oral transmission, and I didn't talk for a year or so. It's powerful.
It is.
I would stutter so bad, I would stump the floor. I would gather all my thoughts together, and when I had the opportunity, I blurted them out. And this is how I tell my stories. And this is handcraft. People need to understand, this is sewn by hand.
Yes.
I have a quilt on exhibit in honor to Mother Mary Carter Smith.
Yes.
And my quilt starts from poems. So this is a poem that I wrote to Mother Mary in 2007. And as you can see, the poem clearly says the voice, and it talks about her spirit being in the middle of a circle, and people was gathered, and I pushed through the crowd, and when I got there, it was an empty space. So I realized that her voice was so powerful. And during the grill meetings, when Mother Mary showed up, she would always talk to me in my right ear, which is documented, because I do all the copyrights to the pictures. And this is Mother Mary literally speaking to me in my right ear.
All right now.
And she would tell me things constantly. So
will you please read that
for us? It's called The Voice. I have been hearing a certain soft voice whispering gently in my ear, telling me stories of our ancestors' deeds and cares. Crowds of people seem to be gathering over in that particular place. So many people, so little space. What event is this creating such an enormous crowd? People cheering, singing. Someone called out, there's a voice being heard over there in the middle of those people. I pushed through the crowd. When I reached the center, I found an empty space. But suddenly that voice became so overwhelmingly clear. Oh yes, Mother Mary, your voice will be ever heard, because the message was the children, so they would prosper and grow. Yes, that's the voice of Mother Mary Carter Smith. Mother Griot, don't you know, don't you know, don't you know?
All right, man.
I'm going to hold this up so everyone can see this. This is Mother Mary Carter Smith, our beloved co-founder of the National Association of Black Storytellers, one of the founders of the Real Circle of Maryland. There is a radio studio named after her at Morgan State. You go in that radio station, the largest studio is called Mother Mary Carter Smith Studio. So she is so beloved, so beloved.
So
Thank you so much.
Because she did so much mentoring to me, because she mentored me so much, I had a quilt this year. Well, I have a quilt exhibit up now, but this quilt was dedicated to Mother Mary Carter Smith, hand sewn, and it went on exhibit in our City Hall. And the reason I wanted it exhibited in City Hall, because I'm ancient and the people need to know that the Pell Museum was, the City Hall was the first colored school in the
right.
1800s for our children.
Yes.
So for Mother Mary's quilt to hang there for 2 months, and I received a citation from the mayor for my quilt, for my Murray Carter Smith quilt that now hangs on exhibit in the Star Spangled Flag House Museum. And this is the 2007, look, flyer from 2007. And I am, and we need to know that grills come under a minstrelship.
That's right.
So this tells me that I don't need a degree to tell a story. I don't need a college background, because this plaque right here, this plaque is given to grills by Mother Mary Carter Smith Grills Legacy Award.
Yay, Bo.
So Mother Linda and Mother Mary registered us in the United States of America. So when you're walking around cloaked under this, living the legacy, and it's an honor to have the blessing setting across for me to say what I do is well.
Yes.
It's well in our soul what I do.
Yes, well.
And this was given to me in 2011.
May I pick it up?
Yes, you may.
It's heavy, but this is beautiful, beautiful. What a great honor. And would you read it, please?
It says the Mother Mary Carter Smith Grill Legacy Award presented to Edna Lawrence, storyteller, in recognition of Grandmother Edna's mission and passion for the protection and survival of the children everywhere. Excellent in the art of storytelling.
All right.
And the commitment to the African American oral tradition.
All right.
Presented by the Grill Circle of Maryland. And it says that it's given by the elder Mother Mary Carter Smith, 1919 to 2007.
Oh, thank you. And we will be right back. Thank you so much.
It's the jump off. Welcome to the Cheryl Underwood Show. Hot topics. We discussing anything. It's a go. We going live now. Got a favorite song calling to the show. Is he ready? Yeah. 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
That's what I'm talking about. Cheryl Underwood ready. Man, listen. The Iceman coming. Big Frost. I'm still worried about that noise cow Irby man rights activist.
Being a man at all times.
Because the people last week, it was Hurricane, what's the name? Michael.
Yeah.
Right. And so, okay, so it was bad. It was what, the third worst in the hidden United States.
Yeah.
But it passed sort of over the panhandle of Florida, but there's water damage, probably $30 billion worth of
That's a lot of money.
Economic impact damage.
Billion with the B?
Yes.
With the B, that's right.
But then it went up into South Carolina, Harry.
Yes.
And went into Georgia.
Yes, it did.
Dang on it.
Yeah, kind of a moratorium on that sound for a while, Kyle.
Yeah. That's Jim Kelly, owner of Proprietor Sports Bar. Courtney Black back with the facts.
I know that.
Man, I can't wait to get in entertainment to ask you, why is Fabulous not so fabulous?
About more reasons for that, but
oh, you gonna give reasons, Arizona? Okay.
Wow.
And somebody, a black female comic is asking for equal pay, and it ain't Monique.
Whoa.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, I gotta go backwards to the sports bar. Somebody go down and see if hell freezes over because the Lakers beat somebody.
I'm hating, sure.
Hey, wait a minute. Nobody believed me when I said as soon as he got there, something was gonna happen, and there's a reason. Ain't nobody listening to me. And the next thing that's gonna happen, I'm a pre-promote it. We gonna talk about it in the sports bar when me come talking with him, come to eavesdrop. The next thing is gonna happen. They're gonna change playing in conferences, and they're gonna change it to play by rankings so that teams that are in the same conference now can play each other.
Wow.
Does that sound profound?
That sounds very profound.
And it's right.
Wow.
And it's right.
It's about the money. It's about the money.
That's
Harry
code for
Southern.
the Eastern Conference is terrible.
That's right. That's
Right
right.
now.
Do something
That's
about it.
right.
Right now.
That's
But it-
what's about to
But it
happen.
has been for a decade.
Yeah, but it switches.
It switches.
Because in Michael's day, the East was strong, and you know they had Detroit and they had
Yes.
Chicago. And,
Yes. Yes.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange.
Artist
I'll get it. I'll do it. I can do it so quick.
The Artist Exchange.
Starts now.
Okay. We're talking about how we got over, how we got through it. And Mama BB, you wanted to share with us your work that you've done in the schools with children.
For almost 10 years, I did the evolution of the black man through music in the schools. I was with the Kane Music Ensemble, and I was the vocalist and the narrator, and we went from the drums to the freedom music. Me talking about it, singing about it, them playing it, and it was well received, you know. But
was this documented? Was there pictures taken of it?
well, yes and no. I did the whole program. We did the whole program when my youngest daughter, she's born in 1954. I was pregnant with her, and we did it at the what's that station? Channel 13. WJZ. They did the whole documentary, so they have it on tape.
So they have it on tape, but you have a copy of it?
No,
Oh, you
they
need a
promised
copy
to
of
send
it.
it
Well,
to
the
me, but
Delaware State University does have it in their archives.
Oh, because I would love to see
Who has it?
Delaware State University.
State.
Uh-huh.
Has it in their archives.
So my husband at that time probably did it, but I don't have a copy. So
That's beautiful. Now,
yeah.
What were some of the songs that were sung?
Well, I went through drums. We had drummers play the drums. Then we did the spiritual, and I would talk about the slave woman laying down there, coming off the fields and laying down and saying, "Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel," and I would scream. Like a motherless child, I would go through that. And then we went from there to the blues and talk about the sister hanging clothes on the line and say, you know, going down to the river, railroad, lay my head on the track. Going down to the river, gonna lay my head on the track. But when I see that train a-coming, I'm gonna pull my head right back.
That is blues.
That's the blues.
My rating now, back in the day.
And then we would do the swing. He would do Scott. In fact, I was married to a musician, the pianist of the group, Abdul Rashid Yahya. And he would do Scott Joplin and play Scott Joplin. And then we just went from there to what? I haven't done it in so long, I've almost forgotten the
It
sequence.
should be in the schools now.
I know.
It should be in the schools.
I do take it in the school.
I gotta register. That's the business aspect. I'm not good at that, you know, but I do it. But I don't know. And then I ended with Nina Simone's "For Women." My skin is black. My arms are long. My hair is woolly. My back is strong. Strong enough to take the pain inflicted again and again. I would talk about Aunt Sarah. I would talk about her. And then my skin turned yellow. My hair grew long. Between two worlds I do belong. My father was rich and white. Raped my mother late one night. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Many times they raped him.
Oh, yeah.
Even raped the men.
Oh, yes, they did.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. They even raped the men. Yes, they did. And then we go from there to where I forgot. But I will remember it in a minute. Let her talk.
Okay, Grandma Edna, thank you so much, Mama BB, Grandma Edna, you wanted to share with us something about what you have. You have so much wonderful things here.
So I'm going to really, this is kind of brief, but as a griot, we need to know that griot is a French word. It's French, so that shows the first colonization of our culture. Griot is a French word. Even though we use it significantly so we can identify us as storytellers, it is a French word. So what I wanted to do today was to tell you that I think that all griots should, I did my DNA in 2007. They wasn't even talking about DNA. And I registered myself, so I know I've never been to Africa, but I have land in Cameroon, because when my DNA came back, not with the one that's on TV, I did it with African ancestors, because they do detailed medical like DNA. So they give you where you're from. So I am a Bamaleke. The Bamalekes were the first Hebrews that came down into Cameroon with a K. And they send you your registered country. They tell you where you're from. And this is my authentic, for my grandmother, for my mother's 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 mother's. So I can reach into the ocean and pull all my souls out, because I know who I am. And because of that, it caused me to research Grace Wisher. And the people in Baltimore do not know how honest my exhibit is at the Flag House Museum. I did a quote on Grace Wisher. Grace Wisher, which is right here. Grace Wisher was a 13-year-old indentured apprenticeship sold to Mary Pickettskill, who was a flag maker in Baltimore. The Flag House Museum is the oldest significant museum for this country, because this flag right here is a flag that represents the United States of America. There was no image of this 13-year-old African child until I got an image of her. She was sold to Mary Pickettskill for $12, and Mary took money out of the $12 to pay for the dress that she put on her to take her with her. Now this young child lived in an attic space at 844 East Press Street for maybe 6 years, and then there was sightings to say that she lived in the house. There's no history on her. So I am engaged in a research project. So today, Linda, thanks to the grill, this is what we should be doing.
That's right, I agree.
I'm going to let y'all know that because of my research, the people in Baltimore, I am sitting in the Maryland State Archive holding the original indentured papers of Mary Pickettskill. And now I'm in the process of doing the orphanage. Because of this, Maryland had a system in 1879 called the Maryland Constitution Act, where if you were a free, can I say the word Negro on there? If you were a free Negro and you were labeled as indignant, ignorant, poor, lazy, they took your children from you and sold them to rich Europeans as indentured servants. I have this book here. It's so thick that I couldn't pick it up. So Baltimore, you guys need to be researching your ancestors on the orphan list, because Baltimore City was owned by Baltimore County. The court system for Baltimore City was set up from Towson, Baltimore County. There's no record of her grave. I have a listing of so many of these orphan sales books of our Africans in Baltimore till it's really overwhelming. So this is on exhibit from June. It was on exhibit from June the 27th until October 30th. I put it in the Flag House Museum because from June to August was the time period in 1813 that the Star Spangled Banner was sown. And Grace Wisher, which you see I clearly put on the flag, helped sew that flag. And I am the second person in the history of this country that material from the second giving of 1963 was given to anyone other than the New York World Festival that's sewn on my flag.
Beautiful. Well, people, we got some work to do. We got some research to do. We got to do some walking and some talking to find out about our history right here in Baltimore, Baltimore County, Hartford County. Yes. We have touched on a lot of places today. And I thank you so much for listening in. And I thank you, Mama BB. And I thank you, Grandma Edna. I thank both of you so much.
Thank you for asking.
And we do Kwanzaa for living.
Yes, yes.
So I teach Kwanzaa 7 days a week.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we're so glad to be here. It's good to have you in a position that you can open up the media waves so that our children, diverse, everybody's child, needs to know the history of storytelling.
Yes, that's true.
We need to know that, and this is a vessel.
Now watch your mic there.
You know, I don't know if this is still on, but I want to tell you that they need to do the next 2 verses of For Women, because you got yes, Sweet Thing and then you got
I know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I used to do that
And we're back with more Cheryl Underwood Radio.
Thank you, Super Producer. We're in the Sports Bar where men come to talk and women come to eavesdrop. We're going to continue this fabulous discussion because I got some questions for the fellas. How many times would you step in and